Hi folks, here at the Colorful Pockets Institute of Alternative Cubing Facts, we are interested in bringing you only the most researched facts about cubing, and today we have a special episode about cubing disorders. Now you probably haven't heard of these because, well, I made them all up off the top of my head. But they're real things, I promise. Now, personally, hold on, this probably seems like really sketchy right now, like you don't have a reason to trust me. Let me fix that. Ah, much better. Hey Andrew, why are you wearing a bathrobe? It's not a bathrobe, it's a lab coat. Okay, maybe it's a bathrobe, but I couldn't find my lab coat. You gotta trust me, I'm a real scientist. Now, let's get into talking about some cubing disorders. Now, these are all ones that affect me personally, which is why I know so much about them. Comment below if any of them affect you, or if you can think of any others that affect you. First of all, we have something that I touched on Friday, which is Tran addiction. Now, this is where you start using a cube that was made by Tran and a method that was made by Tran, and basically your life gets taken over. You even start dressing like him. I mean, he doesn't usually wear a lab coat. I mean, he does, but I'm actually wearing a bathrobe, so that's not what he would normally wear. But anyway, that relates to the next disorder, which is Restless method disorder. Now, this is a rather rare disorder that only affects a small proportion of cubers, but nonetheless, it is very deadly. You see, this disease takes place when a cuber learns one method and then they continue learning new methods every few months or every year or so, and they just keep learning new methods or learning new algorithm sets, and they just can't stop learning new methods. It's a real problem because they never get good with any of the methods they're using. They just always jump to a new one, and they're always jumping from one to another. Now, this happens with me. I started using CFOP, then I learned ZZ, now I'm learning ZZCT. I've learned Hoya for 4x4, I've learned Yao for 5x5. I'm just kind of all over the place. Now, knowing all these methods can at least be useful for FMC, so that brings us to our third disorder, which is FMC hangover. Now, FMC hangover is when you're decent at FMC and you start using FMC techniques in speed solves. Now, obviously that doesn't work out, but what'll happen is you'll be doing inspection and you'll be like, oh look, I see an 8-move pseudo 2x2x3 with a missing corner, but that's okay because I can just do an insertion later into my skeleton, and then you realize, no, you're doing a speed solve. That pseudo 2x2x3 with a missing corner that you can insert later is not going to be useful at all, even if it was only 6 moves. So, instead, you have to use the rest of your inspection time to scramble and try to use your speed solving method, and it just doesn't work out. Another side effect of learning lots of methods and lots of algorithms is what I like to call success-fail duality depression. Now, this comes when you're doing a solve, you get to a new case that you just learned the algorithm for it, and you spend like a really long time trying to remember that algorithm, and then you finally get it, and there's an initial sense of euphoria because you just remembered that algorithm, you solved it correctly, good for you. And then you look at your time, and it's like a minute slower than what you normally average. And you just get sad because like you did a good thing, but it's such a bad solve. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Felt like I was going to cry, but then I just sneezed. And our final disorder of this video is something that only started affecting me recently, and this is keyboard paranoia. So, keyboard paranoia is when you're doing timed solves on a computer using something like CS timer or QQ timer, and then suddenly you start doing a little bit better than you were before. And you keep getting a little bit better, and it seems like you're improving at a rate that's like unusual for you. And then you have to wonder, are you actually getting better, or is your computer just slowing down? What if the refresh rate or whatever it is that controls the timer on the computer is just gradually slowing down? So you're really solving the same amount of time, but your computer's measuring time more slowly, so it seems like you're doing it faster. This one happens to me a lot. So the only known cure for this one is to take another timing device like a stack mat, start it at the same time as your computer, and then stop them both at the same time. And if they're within like 0.01 of each other, or I should maybe say 0.1 to give it a little bit more room for error. But yeah, if they're pretty close to each other, then it's okay. You probably aren't suffering from this, or at least you can stop suffering from the paranoia, because you'll be convinced that it's working out fine, until it starts happening again, and again, and again, and you can never trust your computer again. If this one didn't affect you before, now that I've mentioned it, it might affect you now. I'm sorry about that. It's a side effect of watching my videos. Guys, I'm not a doctor. If you suffer from these things, I can't help you. I'm actually going to keep the bathrobe on because I'm not a doctor and doctors don't wear bathrobes. Fact. That's a fact. My arm got stuck on my chair. This video is going wrong. I'll see you guys on Friday.